Jesse, and I'm going to show you how to put OpenWrt on a GL.iNet B1300. So I just got one, and I plugged it into my wired Ethernet port on my computer and plugged it into power. And as you can see, it's giving me a DHCP address. So let's go ahead and just first check out the graphical user interface it ships with. So this is the manufacturer's kind of like setup wizard and skin over a very old version of OpenWrt. And we're not going to use this. Instead, we're going to use the latest OpenWrt and just use a generic build, clean generic build. So we can get those, luckily, from openwrt.org. So we can head over here, go to downloads, stable release builds. The latest version at the moment is 18.0.6. The target is IPQ40XX. And you can see here is the squashfs sysupgrade.bin. I actually just downloaded this, so I'm not going to download it again, but obviously just click on it and it will download. Now, it's possible to upgrade the firmware from the graphical user interface, but it didn't work for me for some reason, so I'm going to do it the TFTP way. In order to do that, our computer needs to have a specific IP address. We need to have the firmware file that we just downloaded in the right spot on our computer's hard drive, and it needs to have, the file needs to have a specific name. And of course we need to start the TFTP server. After all of that is in place, we can disconnect the device from power and reboot it, or plug it back in again and reboot it, and it will, during the boot process, the device will use TFTP client to attempt to download our version of the firmware and flash it. So the first step, I'm going to switch to my terminal, and I'm going to start the TFTP server. So I luckily, hopefully, have this. I'm going to become root first, actually, and then I believe I have this command in my history here. So this is how you would start the TFTP server. So it's launch control load, and then the plist for the daemon. And then I'm going to cd into the directory where the server looks for files. So remember I said we would download that firmware file. That would have been in my home directory. So users Jesse Payne, downloads OpenWrt. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to copy it into the TFTP directory with the special name. So that name is lead GL-B1300-bin. Excuse me. So now the file is in the right spot on the hard drive. It has the right name. We've started the TFTP server. We just need to get our computer to take the correct IP address. So let's switch to manual. We'll go to 192.168.1.2. That's the address it's looking for, and apply. And then now we can disconnect the device from power, reboot it, and hopefully we can watch it grab the firmware file. So just to kind of observe the process, I'm going to do a packet capture. It's not necessary, but at least it'll give us some way to visualize what's happening. So TCP dump, EM4 is my interface, my wired interface, and port 69 is the TFTP port. So I'm just going to go ahead and watch on that, and I'm going to go ahead and reboot the device. Here we go. And hopefully we'll see the TFTP server asking for that file that we just renamed, GL.B1300.bin. Okay, so there we go. You can see that it found it. And now I'm looking at the device. It's obviously not visible from here, but the device is doing some sort of unusual blinking. That's good. That means it's in the process of flashing the firmware. It usually takes around 5 minutes or so, and a good way to kind of know when the process is over is, to watch the lights, and you'll see they'll return to a stable pattern at some point. But also, we're done with the TFTP server, oops, by the way, so we can turn it off, or we should turn it off. Don't need to be root anymore. And a good way to, as I was saying, observe that the process of flashing the new firmware is complete is to switch to DHCP, and eventually your computer will take a lease on from the new build. Okay, so it's done. We can see that we're now taking an IP address, and let's check out the router IP now. So it's 1.1 now. You can see Lucy is loading. That's the configuration interface for OpenWrt, and cool, we're in. So you can see the version successfully was flashed, 18.0.6. Cool. Good luck and have fun playing with OpenWrt on your GL.iNet B1300.